Hello everyone, and welcome to another Fromsoft game challenge. This time we find ourselves in Dark Souls 2. Um, and we are going to do a Covenant of Champions run. And what this does is it increases the health and damage of all of the enemies, and all of the enemies will infinitely respawn. Unlike other FromSoft games, Dark Souls 2, if you defeat the enemies like 12 or 13 times, the generic enemies won't respawn unless you use a bonfire aesthetic or are in the company of champions. Um, Mostly the only thing that you have not seen was just the character creation screen and me walking into Majula. In here I'm just collecting the first Estus shard, and I went and did the company of first because there are a couple little like baby boars over there that well, can kill you and also give you souls upon death. As you can see there very briefly, I have no soul memory. This is mostly just for my sake and just kind of showing off for everyone that we are doing Company of Champions from the very beginning. We are a cleric. There are two reasons why I chose cleric. One, access to heal immediately, and that just shows that I have no deaths. Again, just verifying start of the run. Their heal is really nice because there are items in this game that are kind of similar to just like consumable blue flasks, meaning that you can restore spell uses, and also that those items sometimes also restore health. So I'm just trying to maximize consumable usage. I think I'm also going to go for a dark caster build. And here I just use those consumable souls to level up strength once, and this is important for the second item that this class starts with, the mace. The mace is one of my most reliable weapons this entire game, and we have our wonderful protagonist, Arena, back in, I guess, it's not the lands between a strong leg, but yeah, but now this is a, although I don't have any second spells yet, this is having 12 strength so I can one-hand the mace and then also be able to cast something like Rejection, which is, I think it's just called Force in this game, but yeah, so that way I can knock people off ledges, throw lightning bolts, eventually do other dark casting spells. So like the challenge of this is doing Company of Champions. It's not anything in particular about build restrictions. I am pretty familiar with Dark Souls 2. I think it's the game that I have besides Elden Ring, it's the game that I have the most time with in the FromSoft franchise. Hopefully, if you've been seeing the Elden Ring videos, that I'm pretty competent at these games. Like, I'm by no means professional speedrunner or anything, but hopefully I'm gonna have a nice, easy run, kind of just showing off how, with some planning and well, pretty much with good planning and decent execution, you can, well, not trivialize, but make hard mode of Dark Souls 2 not as intimidating. One of the things that as I get back into this that I have to get used to is I've been playing a lot of high poise builds in Elden Ring, and well, these guys, until I actually get some good fashion and armor, these guys are going to stun me out of attacks. And there I just don't rest because I know I have heal, and I don't want to, really I want to respawn enemies as little as possible because, again, with Company of Champions, these guys do more damage and have more health than they normally would, and even if I die a whole bunch, then And as you can see here, having heals is really nice, especially because of how few Estus flasks you start with. And then I do have access to life gems, and I'm going to be using those as needed. Yeah. And hopefully everything with like video, audio quality is good, because this is my first time using a capture card, so running this off of a probably suboptimal setup with my PlayStation 4, and just so we won't be seeing any invaders other than NPCs, because I'm just doing an offline run for this. But yeah, hopefully this will still be nice, relaxing, and entertaining as we go through the levels. If it's not super obvious already, I think I'm going to be doing this one a lot of post commentary, mostly just currently in terms of how the setup is working. It's going to be easier, and then also I can, if I do end up getting caught in a specific area and just die a bunch, I can just show you a highlight death montage of everything. One really cool thing about Dark Souls 2 is in terms of there's a lot of cool things about Dark Souls 2. I love this game. There are plenty of very reasonable gripes with it, and I think, but weapons that are not just thrusting weapons have counterattack damage, and also it shows you how much poise damage and counterattack damage weapons do in the game, which is not something that is in any of the other Fromsoft games, so I really appreciate that. And the mace actually has pretty good counterattack damage, and why the mace is important, or at least why I like it, is, besides the decent poise damage, is it's really important to have strike damage, or not just standard slashing or piercing, because there are a lot of enemies that are weak to strike damage or have good resistance to the other physical damage types. Yeah. And then another thing that you'll notice is, especially if you're most familiar with Elden Ring, is weapon durability. Of the 3 Dark Souls games, weapons in Dark Souls 2 have the lowest effective durability. So like paying attention to durability is because like in DS3, if you're going from bonfire to bonfire, you're not going to, and here I'm just testing out the moveset of the infantry axe, because this is, I think, one of the first times I've gotten an early drop of something like that. I am going to get the hand axe in a little bit, which is pretty much strictly better. Maybe the fashion is not as great, but yeah. But as you can see, the little red bars underneath the weapons on the bottom left, like the weapon durability is a resource. So having a secondary weapon before I can just buy repair powders and other things to keep my weapons up at full is going to be really useful. And life gems are like a slow restore of HP, and it's either until you hit max HP or you recover for whatever amount it is. So there are going to be fights later where I can try to use either a life gem or something like that at lower health, and also you can move with life gems where you have to stop and chug an Estus in this game. But yeah, so later on I will try and use like the passive heal of life gems to like keep at high HP while fighting a boss that does like passive damage over time. And if you're familiar with DS2, you'll know that it's Smelter Demon. But we'll get to that later in this run. So here I'm just cleaning up Forest of Fallen Giants, just taking my time getting from bonfire to bonfire. And yeah, and I think there, I'm not gonna try and do, like, I've seen speedruns of this. I'm not gonna try and do any skips or anything. We're just kind of gonna go through the game, and if there is something that's a little bit out of order-ish, it's not. You don't really have to do much in order to get to it, is what it is, or it's not super like It's something you can do very relatively simply. Um, Here I just use the souls because I forget that the blacksmith key is only 1,000 instead of, because I thought it was 1,500, and the blacksmith key is pretty much just how you get to the Majula, the equivalent of Andre, or I forget the Elden Ring blacksmith, even though he's always there supporting at round table hold. Master Hugh, there we go. And here I'm just gonna go get the guy outside again, I think, so that way I can buy the hand axe, because the hand axe has 30 more durability and more attack than the infantry axe, and is also lighter, so it's so much better. And then after you buy a certain number of items, and then you exhaust this merchant's dialogue, they will go back to Majula after you beat the last giant, which is the first boss of the game. Not necessarily the first boss you encounter, but the first boss of the game. Yep. So now we are gonna head. I think there's a little bit of a skip you could do if I had fire bombs, but I don't have any fire bombs here. I'm just making sure I know the moveset relative to Elden Ring, basically. I don't want to immediately go in and die, and sometimes I'll just sit at the bonfire again to make sure that I get all the weapon durability back up, because if you accidentally clip some terrain, then you're in trouble with, you can get in trouble with durability. And even though the enemies respawn, I am going to try and clear everybody out, because ideally, if I'm going to make it back to this spot and go back up the ladder and rest, and because I will unlock a shortcut to get to Fire Giant, not Fire Giant, the last giant. So, yeah, as you can see, I am not using that wall, and I have a disagreement on the axe hitbox. And getting that shortcut is basically I just don't want to die on my way back. Now we approach one of the most feared enemies in all of the Fromsoft franchise, the Turtle Knight. Why do you ask it's the most feared enemy? Well, they're giant turtles with maces that lay down on you, and there's not really much you can do about it. Also, because my Elden Ring build of these guys was really fun, hence most feared. Not actually, but we're running with it. Now here I am going to run up here and then run back down, because I don't want to fight the Pursuer. The Pursuer is the second boss of Elden Ring. I mean, Dark Souls 2, Elden Ring is just on my mind, I guess, right now. You can fight him there, but because this is Company of Champions mode, I don't feel like it, and I don't want to risk dying. And there's also an Estus Flask shard up there that I can grab. So here I'm just trying to clear out all of the little guys and not explode on explodey barrels. And when I was playing through that, I didn't realize I just took a bunch of damage, and I'm just like, oh, I have 2 less ribs thanks to those arrows. And now it's time to go up here and try and collect some stuff. And in hindsight, and I think I realized it while doing this, I could use the guy that was throwing fire bombs to try and open up the shortcut, but I just didn't. Now, these soldier hollows are, well, they're a little bit problematic, because they, especially when they have shields, they can have a lot of poise, and it's hard to guard break the shields without, like, a designated kick Ash of War. I think there's probably a way that I can do it to guard break the shields without doing too much work, but it is not super simple. I got a little bit overconfident. As you can tell, my silence, I forgot exactly when I died, but first death of the run. Ooh. It's not even to the first boss, but that's all right, because we got a lot of souls and we got a lot of stuff collected, and it wasn't really that much progress lost. So I think it's probably later on, if I get super stuck, then I will make a little bit of a montage about getting back to where you are. But now, one of the things that Dark Souls 2 does that the other games don't do is that you lose a percentage of your maximum health on death, and you can, and effectively your great runes or embers, or in this case human effigies, give you that health percentage back. So instead of giving a bonus for using those items, the game just takes away your health in general. Yeah, so it's a little bit more brutal, but also Dark Souls 2 gives you gobs and gobs of health. You get a ton of health just by like leveling up your other attributes, where in Elden Ring and some of the other games, like, you don't get health when you like level, let's say, strength. In Dark Souls 2, if you level strength, you get a little bit of health. So you get a lot of just like passive hit points just by leveling up in general. Yeah, strike damage is really good, and especially because the counter damage on the mace is ridiculous. I also do appreciate all the random life gems that these guys drop. It makes it really, it makes it nice to not have to worry about, like, burning them. Like, there's not I don't have to worry about running out of consumables. As you can see, since I have 15 and I just got one, I'm able to crack one open and then just patiently wait for these guys to throw themselves off of a ledge to fight me down here. The damage may not have been necessary, but that backstab was necessary. And now I'm probably wrong on exactly how crit damage is calculated in this game, but I think if you have more riposte damage, the more crit damage you do with a particular weapon. So even though the mace is not like a thrusting weapon or a dagger, you still actually get like really good crit damage with it as well. So there are even like, I think the Gargoyle's Biden has really good has really good counter damage, and thus it gives you really good crit damage as well. Probably not something we're going to be using unless I get a ton of strength, but since we're going to be focusing on dark damage, we're going to be doing a mixed in faith build. Not that we're going to be leveling those super soon, because right now it's mostly just get some stamina, get some health, and get maybe a little bit of equip load, and also there's a stat adaptability that affects your roll, invincibility frames, in addition to a bunch of other stuff. So that's also going to be getting leveled. So we're just going to be leveling everything, basically. Everything except, like, strength and dex. And now here there's technically a little bit of oh yeah, and then also too, jumping down this ladder hurts you in Dark Souls 2. Fall damage is a lot less forgiving. Now, I know all those barrels explode, and I think there's a little bit of a difference on how these guys throw their bombs between Scholar of the First Sin and original Dark Souls 2, or at least the 0.0 patch. Because on the 0.0 patch, like, you walk a little bit in there, and then all those barrels just explode, and there's also a Turtle Knight guarding the door, but they decided to not have a Turtle Knight guard the door in Scholar of the First Sin, because I don't know, and those guys aren't as accurate with their bombs, because mostly I just don't want to have all of those barrels explode and one-shot me. So, like in Invasions, I'm going to be using healing items, not the most efficiently, but frequently to make sure that I'm at full health to stay out of one-shot range, because everything does more damage. Yeah, and as you can see, these guys, they like their shields. Yeah, they got hyper armor, it's ridiculous. Sadly, the second R2 on the base is, like, really, really short. No, they're perfectly necessary. I know there is cast speed stuff, but once I have more options for casting tools, I'll do that later. Yep, and that is the door to go to the Pursuer, but it is locked by the Soldier's Key, which we're going to go get in just a minute, because you get that from defeating the Fire Giant. And here I equip some throwing pots, and unfortunately I am not used to DS2 throwing pots, so we're going to see some absolutely horrendous throws, because I am used to the Elden Ring pot arcs, so I'm just trying to get one of these guys down, and it just did not go super well. However, they decided to not fight at the same time. And there is some good stuff over there, but there is also a Turtle Knight, and I have a lot of souls, so we're absolutely not going to go fight him. And here is the shortcut door to lead to the first boss. And the first time that I ever fought Fire Giant, Last Giant, those are fire arrows, and I used them in the first time I ever fought this boss. However, we don't need those, because I have gotten much better at the game since my very first time playing. But we will go back and spend all of our souls, because we gotta go to the level up lady, because it wouldn't be it wouldn't be Dark Souls 2 or 3 without the level up lady.
Is that here?
And like the Firekeeper in Dark Souls 3, the Emerald Herald has several spawn locations, but she's also much more camouflaged. Yeah, and here I'm just kind of debating what to level up, but as I see, I'm just like, not the damage stats are not a ton, so I just grab endurance and health. And if I remember correctly, I think I set a lot 2 endurance, 1 vigor this level. Yeah, you gotta love the moments where I'm just like, this is a very important decision to make sure that I don't die horribly to the first boss. It's just a slight awkward boss, but yeah, but the extra endurance is going to actually come in handy. And unfortunately, I was just gonna buy some Titanite shards, but they cost 800, so I am not actually going to be able to afford any until after, the fight with Fire Giant. Last Giant. I'm gonna mess that up every single time. But now the blacksmith shop is open and we can buy some stuff later. And now it is time to go fight the last Giant. And he is down the elevator that we walked past. Not the most intimidating boss, because, well, actually, I guess he is kind of intimidating since he's like 10 times your size. But it's not crazy. And even with Covenant of Champions, he didn't seem to do too much damage to me. And this guy we're just getting out of the way, as well as his good friend, because we don't want anyone to attack me in the elevator. And there, I just did the step forward R2 because you saw how short the range of the follow-up R2 is. And here I want to see my beautiful face again, so I use a humanity because boy do the being hollow does not look pretty in this game. And someone told this guy to go back to Elden Ring with his shield poke F-stock. Alright, and here we're just going to enjoy the little intro cutscene. Yeah, first time I saw that when I was dying to all the enemies, like the first time I was ever playing a Souls game, this guy was really scary. But now, having fought, because you probably recognize from some of the Stone Digger trolls, the foot stomp set is, like, it's totally fine. I'm not judging them for reusing it, but once you've seen this particular moveset enough, you aren't super intimidated by it. And generally where the foot stomp boxes are. And also, I'm not running heavy footwork too, because I think the first time I was doing this, I was using hiding behind a shield. I was heavy rolling because shield, and that's also why the turtle guys were really scary, because they could knock you down through your shield. Where here, I can just pretty easily chip away at his ankles without too much worry. And to not die, make sure I heal up. And there we go. First boss down. With the extra little ankle smack just to make sure that he stays dead. And to finish up, we are just going to homeward bound back to the bonfire because anxiety. And we will head back to Majula to level up some and upgrade our weapons before part 2, because because this one's going to be pretty much the end of this one. So I hope that all of you are enjoying the series so far. It's fun revisiting this game. I haven't ever really had the opportunity to play multiplayer of Dark Souls 2, but it's like comfort food for going back and playing through the single player. Because, yeah, like I said, this one was my first Fromsoft game, so that's probably just nostalgia is just a very large part of it, but it's still nice to just go back and revisit and relax. And here specifically I'm grabbing so standard weapons when they reach plus 10 have double whatever their base was, and they do get some increased scaling. So here I'm upgrading the mace twice and the hand axe once. Again, just keeping a couple weapons handy, so that way if I run low on durability on one of them, I'm not going to be in severe trouble.
Bear, seek, lest this...
And rather than say exactly where I'm going to go, the possibilities are going after the Pursuer or taking a detour off to Hyde's Tower of Flame to go after Dragon Rider. Again, thank you all for watching, thank you all for your time, and I hope you enjoy the new challenge series. And I will catch you all in the next video. See ya!